This house was littered with clues about its prominent past, but no one guessed the mystery would lead to a man who single-handedly brought baseball to Spokane, Washington. Shannon Rhodes and Louie Flores didn't even have to look through the whole house before buying this 1899 Queen Anne Victorian.
We saw only a third of the house, and we made an offer.
But they had no idea the house was so significant to Spokane, Washington.
This is the oldest neighborhood in Spokane, and this house was just sort of unloved, and it looked like it needed love.
Did you know anything about its past when you moved in?
No, not at all, not at all.
Only later would they find out their home's tantalizing past, filled with fire, bribery, and baseball. Their mystery saga started upstairs in the attic.
It's amazing as you open up your home, how the history just starts revealing itself.
They found the first revelation under the floorboards, buried in insulation.
And we literally had to dig through the insulation to remove it. And in doing so, we discovered the many treasures that this house had to dig. We found a picture and also a hat pin. We found a wooden top. It was almost like a time capsule.
It looks like the children used to play in the attic quite a bit.
Next came a coin dating from the Victorian era.
The Victorians, when they built their homes, would put a coin in for good luck. And we were lucky enough to retrieve the coin that was put in this house when it was built in the year 1899.
1899, this is a quarter.
Yes.
Then another Victorian clue, a calling card that gave a name to the woman in the picture.
This is Edward Lewis Powell.
So this is the first name you had seen in the house, though, right?
Yeah. So it really prompted us to start digging in and researching who Edward Lewis Powell was, and that's kind of how our whole adventure began.
At the library, Shannon and Louie learned the basic background on their house.
The home was built in 1899 for Edward Lewis and Dora Powell. He was the third mayor of Spokane. He was a wholesale grocer by trade.
It was the mayor thing that really caught the couple's attention. They poured through the archives looking for any more information.
I'm just reading all this stuff, and I'm just amazed at what this gentleman did as a mayor, as a statesman. It's just amazing stuff.
Apparently, it wasn't an easy era to lead Spokane. Times were tough. The city was being rebuilt after a devastating fire, and corruption was rampant. So what was he most known for as mayor?
Well, he cleaned up the government. He suspected corruption with some city officials. Then he did a sting operation. He drilled a hole with an auger and listened in through the walls as they're paying off a city official $150.
That was a lot of money back then.
Sure was.
Mayor Powell became a hero for cleaning up the city, and Shannon and Louie thought that was the end of the Powell puzzle.
And then one day we received this letter.
And who was this from?
It's from James Rigsby. He was the grandson of Mayor Powell. He was able to validate that the kids played in the attic a lot.
James Rigsby also sent a family scrapbook, packed with newspaper clippings and pictures. Most of them were related to Edward Powell's civic accomplishments, but there was one photo that stood out.
Look at how old those gloves are. Oh my goodness.
Oh, man.
Look at these guys, they're great.
Why was there a picture of an old-time baseball team? Who were these old-fashioned athletes, and what did they have to do with Powell's past?
Mayor Powell established baseball in Spokane. This was in the late 1870s, early 1880s, and he was the captain of the team, he was the pitcher, and he was a relief batter.
And then he goes on to be mayor.
Correct.
From the minor leagues to major contributions, Edward Powell made a difference in more ways than one.
I just am honored that I'm able to restore this home and keep his memory alive.
You gonna run for mayor?
No.
Still ahead, a cliffhanger in the family plot
It was so exciting.
leads to an amazing discovery.
It was like going on to a bigger and better adventure.
When we come back.
HGTV Challenge tip number 22. Your carpenter's time is valuable.
Yes.
A minute.
No.
Okay.
What do you do for stains detergent can leave behind? Well, Maytag and Whirlpool recommend OxyClean because it gets out the spills, the spots and splatters. Whether they're ground in, smeared on, or dried up, it doesn't matter. That's the power of OxyClean.
The hassles of wearing reading glasses because your contacts won't do. But you can expect more from your contacts. Bausch & Lomb multifocals were created with all-distance optics that seamlessly adjust your vision from reading to distance and everywhere in between. So you can see everything effortlessly and comfortably. And you can say, goodbye, readers. For a free trial pair of Bausch & Lomb multifocal contacts, visit goodbyereaders.com and get rid of your readers today.
We like looking at the world through safety-colored glasses, doing what it takes to make home a little better. That's why we lowered over 1,000 prices and carry powerful tools from DeWalt, Milwaukee, Ridgey, and more. So you spend less, but drill, saw, and nail more. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Right now, save $20 on a Ryobi 18-volt starter kit with drill and circular saw for just $89.
I heard about him from all the other girls. We were working at the same company.
And she was something else.
Take care of each other and your health with Nature-Made Cholesterol. Cholesterol helps lower LDL cholesterol, the bad kind, naturally by using the same types of phytonutrients found in nuts, grains, fruits, and vegetables.
He makes me laugh. He still does. But it's nice.
Learn how to lower your cholesterol naturally at cholesterol.com. Nature-Made. Fuel your greatness.
Me again.
Okay, now this is the last time, all right?
Thanks. We don't deliver anything like this as crispy flatbread.
Introducing the taste that's never been delivered. DiGiorno Crispy Flatbread Pizza. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
These first-time home buyers want the same thing.
This is huge.
The perfect kitchen.
Wow.
And we're going to help them find it.
Why not shoot for the stars?
All next week, beginning at 8, Property Virgins.
I love the place.
And My First Place.
It's too dated.
Search for the perfect kitchen.
This is the kitchen we're looking for.
First-time home buyers, Hour of Kitchens. All next week, beginning at 8/7 Central on HGTV. Brought to you by Terminix. Call 1-800-TERMINIX for our ultimate protection guarantee.
It's worth millions today, but 30 years ago, a 1-acre plot just minutes from Manhattan was a steal at $65,000. Amazing! But even more shocking are the long-lost secrets of the family who once lived there, the Rikers of the infamous Rikers Island prison. Queens, New York isn't known for its peace and quiet. But a mere 8 miles from busy Midtown Manhattan, there's an intriguing old farmhouse tucked away from the city. When Michael Smith started renting the house in the 1960s, he knew it was old, but he had no idea he was actually living in an American artifact, one of the oldest homes in the entire country.
I didn't know much about the history.
And he wasn't allowed to explore because the owner kept the basement and attic locked. But Michael did know the house was once owned by the Rikers. Their family plot was on the property. Some people might be a little creeped out having their own cemetery, but the first time Michael's wife Marion saw the house, she knew she was home.
I stood in the center hallway and I broke out in goosebumps and I thought, this house has been waiting for me.
So when they got a chance to buy the house for $65,000, they jumped at it, and Marion headed straight for those forbidden spaces.
She went right to the attic.
I couldn't wait to get up there, and I didn't know what I would find.
Little did she know she was about to stumble on a stash of stuff dating back to before the United States even existed. When she opened the attic, she was amazed to see it was stacked with Riker family records, going back hundreds of years.
It was just so thrilling to unwrap each book and start reading. Oh, isn't that wonderful? And as I read through the pages, I felt that I began to know the Rikers, one by one.
She was blown away when she realized that the Rikers' history in New York went back further than the U.S. Constitution.
They were among the first American Dutch settlers.
So she was thrilled when another find helped her put a face to the names.
Well, lo and behold, I found a box of 8x10 glass negatives. And we come across 1883, John J. Riker, It was so exciting. It was like going on to a bigger and better adventure.
But the Smiths' more immediate adventure was restoring the old Riker home.
Every room needed work. It was a wreck.
Their historic discoveries started almost immediately when Marion pulled up the 60s shag carpet in the living room.
And this was underneath. This was intact. This was preserved. This was saved. Who knew?
Marion couldn't believe she'd uncovered the original wide plank floors that went all the way back to 1729. But she and Michael didn't know that when they got to the dining room, they'd find proof that their house was even older.
This doorway showed up when we took everything off to the bare bones. And we found wooden pegs as nails. And we had a historian come here and said that this was a real find.
The wooden pegs were common in 17th century construction. And when Marion researched the original land grant to the Rikers, she found it was in 1654, when New York was still New Amsterdam.
And the Rikers, under the original land grant, had 132 acres.
The Smiths were stunned to learn that the Rikers had once owned a big chunk of what is now Queens, including the sites of LaGuardia Airport and New York's infamous prison, Rikers Island.
To think that we're standing in the same spot that 350 years ago, among the first American Dutch settlers stood here, isn't it exciting?
After realizing their house wasn't just Dutch colonial style, but an actual Dutch colonial, that burial plot out back became a lot more important, since more than 100 Rikers were at rest there.
We have a Riker who died at Valley Forge.
Of course, by the time of the American Revolution, the house was already well over a century old. And Marion realized some of the tombstones were even older than the house.
Due to the fact it's hand-etched, there is no date, I think this is one of the earliest, if not the earliest, dating back to the 1600s.
But Marion's most astounding discovery was that her search for the Riker story came to an end right outside her house.
While up in the attic and unwrapping the ledgers and the books and the diaries and coming across the names of John L. Riker and James Riker and William Riker and Lavinia and Selena, and to realize they're all here. They're buried here. It's almost like I feel a kinship.
Today, both Marion and Michael feel close to the Rikers, and they're still amazed at how close they've come to the roots of American history.
We are only the third owner in 350 years. Can you imagine that?
And they'll also be the last private owners, because after they're gone, the Smiths intend to donate their property to be kept as a museum.
And we feel very privileged and honored to own a piece of history, to be able to restore it, to be able to live in it, and then one day be able to pass it on.
Still ahead,
we didn't know what all it was.
Discovering a secret that put a small town back on the map.
You'd find something, and you'd have to sit down and look at it.
And later,
we discovered that beneath the sheetrock were these names.
I'm HGTV's Carter Osterhaus. Did you know that a maple tree removes 450 pounds of carbon from the air each year? Planting a deciduous tree on the south side of your home provides shade in the summer and lets in the winter sunshine. It also adds beauty to your neighborhood. Planting trees saves energy and helps the environment. For more simple steps that make a big difference, go to hgtv.com/change the world. You want to change?
The stars roll in and the fans rock out at the 2009 CMT Music Awards.
And the buckle goes too.
Experience this CMT party in high definition by upgrading to HD service from Cox. Cox gives dozens of the best HD channels free, including CMT HD. You'll see a sharper, clearer picture and country stars you can almost touch. The 2009 CMT Music Awards. The party starts Tuesday, June 16th at 8, 7 Central. Live and loud on CMT HD. HD service from Cox. What more could you want?
Hi, I'm Taylor Baldwin, and you're going to love this. It's Strap Perfect, the ultimate bra strap solution. Just place, slide, and your bra straps instantly hide. Strap Perfect also gives a beautiful instant boost to your silhouette. During this special TV offer, you'll get 3 Strap Perfect in clear for just $19.99. Order right now, and we'll triple the offer. Plus, we'll also send you 48 strips of invisible style tape, yours free. You get all of this for just $19.99.
Of 3 for free.
FreeTripleScore.com.
We've combined serious drain cleaning power with technology of the future. It's Liquid Plumber Foaming Pipe Snake. Clears slow drains, cleans pipe walls. Liquid Plumber Foaming Pipe Snake.
We're rolling out the blue carpet. Car care that's $39.95 or less for most GM vehicles. You'll get a standard lube oil and filter change with up to 6 quarts of oil, a 4-tire rotation, and 27-point inspection. 3 great services, all in one place, all at one time, all for one price. But hurry, Good Wrench and Go ends June 30th. Good Wrench, around the back of every GM dealership. See your participating GM Good Wrench dealer today.
The Reynolds Wrap you've known for years, the strength and quality you trust, is adding a new member to the family, one that's positively green. Introducing Reynolds Wrap made from 100% recycled aluminum. It's 100% Reynolds quality, 100% Reynolds tough, and like all our foil, it's made in the USA. New Reynolds Wrap from 100% recycled aluminum. Tough in the kitchen, easier on the environment. Learn the whole story at reynolds100.com.
HP printers and inks give you 65% more pages than bargain inks. Now that's an impressive bargain.
School's out and so are the secrets in an offbeat home renovation project that's giving a tiny town a new thrill.
Back in the 70s when I was in high school, I was known as Milt the Stilt.
Milt Hanson didn't go to school here in Arnegard, North Dakota, but he does consider it his hometown.
Arnegard's a little town of 130 people, a small town by any standard. I grew up 2 or 3 blocks from here.
And when this former band director left big city Miami to come back home, he moved into the strangest house in town.
This looks like a schoolhouse, but this is also my home.
Milt got the abandoned school for free, as long as he promised to restore it.
This building was actually given to me by a group in the community called the Friends and Alumni of the Old School.
And as Milt was about to discover, the small town had a hugely successful past, all hidden away in the dark corners of the old schoolhouse.
As I was going through the building, I was taking an inventory of everything that was here. I knew there was a lot of stuff here, and I really didn't know what all it was.
His first puzzle, a trophy case filled with the spoils of competition from the 1920s to the 1960s.
I have a lot of trophies from both girls and boys basketball, county-wide track meets. There are a number of band trophies.
One trophy in particular piqued Milt's interest.
And I saw the championship nets, and so I took a look at it and found the state championship trophy from 1961.
Milt didn't know the old school had ever won the state championship, and he was thrilled. But then he found even more evidence when he dusted off an old box. Inside were the very uniforms from the winning team.
Obviously, our school name was the Spuds.
Milt wanted to know more, but his first priority was turning the schoolhouse into a home.
Cosmetically, it was in terrible shape. There were ceilings falling in, there was plaster falling off the walls, and so I knew that it was going to be a huge undertaking.
Milt put on a $30,000 roof, installed almost a mile of new copper pipes, and used 350 sheets of drywall, all to turn his 25,000 square foot building into a bachelor pad.
Every day was an adventure.
And through it all, Milt kept finding more evidence of the school's past.
In fact, many days it was hard to stay on task as far as a renovation because you'd find something and you'd have to sit down and look at it.
Things got even more interesting as Milt started exploring parts of the school where students weren't allowed, and nothing had been touched for years.
I was up in the attic, and it was dark up there, not very good lighting, and I saw a bunch of instrument cases.
A pretty exciting find for a former band director.
So I went and opened one of them up and found this old Shepherd's Crook cornet. It's a very unique piece of equipment from the original school. This was played by one of the kids in the band here in Arnegard.
Milt couldn't believe he'd found such a big stash of antique instruments. And in the coming months, he uncovered a veritable symphony of band gear.
I have tubas and sousaphones, I have euphoniums and alto horns, I have French horns, I have uniforms, I have marching hats, I have majorette uniforms, all kinds of fun stuff for the band.
But why had they all been left behind? Finding all that stuff made Milt remember the championship trophy he'd found first. Who'd been on that underdog team, and what story was hiding here? Finally, Milt made a discovery that gave him a lead.
I found the picture of the team, and then I was able to match those two up.
The team photo put a face on the 1961 All-State Boys Championship basketball team.
This is the gym where the state championship team started their road to Bismarck.
But Milt wanted to know more. Armed with the photo, he headed to Main Street and was shocked to learn details of that championship season were just waiting to come out.
There's a little coffee shop that I go to, and all the local guys show up there and we visit. And there's a lot of stories around about that 1961 team.
Turns out that the old-timers vividly remember that championship season. In fact, the day Arnegard won the trophy was the day the whole town got out of town.
The town emptied out for the basketball tournament, just rolled up the carpet and put the key under the doormat and turned the lights off as they left. So it was a pretty big deal for a town of this size to win the state championship trophy.
But Milt didn't stop there. When he asked his older neighbors about the big day, they gave him their 1961 home movies. Milt searched the footage, looking for images from the big event. Sure enough, the film had a few very dark shots of the basketball champs posing with the very trophy Milt had found. But then Milt spotted some shots that he was even more excited about. Footage of the band.
It showed the kids in the uniforms and the uniforms that I have, and the majorettes and the majorette uniforms I have, and some of the instruments I have, the bass drum I have, the school band banner that I have. And it was really nice to see those being used when they're actually in use for the school.
In his restoration, Milt's found mementos from some of the biggest moments in his small town's history.
It's a fairly large responsibility to be the keeper of a lot of the history of this town.
And he takes his responsibility very seriously.
In these small towns, if the school's gone and the church is gone, a lot of these small towns will die. And I am now the school.
Milt thinks the stuff he found was just forgotten as kids graduated and moved on. But he vows the newfound memories of this town's successful past will live forever in his new home. Coming up,
he really went from nothing to high status.
From Wagoneer to Wheeler Dealer, a story almost hidden forever when we come back.
Sunday night, the heat is on as teamwork becomes the first victim of rising tempers.
What'd you call me? A brat.
On HGTV's $250,000 challenge. An all-new episode Sunday night at 10/9 Central on HGTV.
Tile regrout. Grout tool, grout float, grout sealer, grout sponge, caulk, and a drop cloth. That all you got?
Retaining wall.
Decorative block, tape measure, stakes, string,
slag sand, hand tamper, flat pointed shovel. Booyah.
Someone's done his homework.
That's right. Got a lot of plants need watering.
Got a 50-foot Never Kink hose over 50% off, just $11.99.
Gotta relax eventually.
Quad chair, $5.99, over half off. Hurry, sale ends Saturday.
See you next week.
I'll be here.
For the right tools, products, and advice, True Value. Start right. Start here.
I'm Lindy. And I'm Joni. We've been best friends since we were 2. We've always been alike.
We even both have osteoporosis, but we're active, especially when we vacation. So when I heard about Reclass, the only once-a-year IV osteoporosis treatment, I called Joni.
My doctor said Reclass helps re-strengthen our bones to help make them resistant to fracture.
And Reclass is approved to help protect from fracture in more places. Hips, spine, even other bones.
You should not take Reclast if you're on Zometa, have low blood calcium, kidney problems, or you're pregnant, plan to become pregnant, or nursing. Take calcium and vitamin D daily. Tell your doctor if you develop severe muscle, bone, or joint pain, or if you have dental problems, as rarely jaw problems have been reported. The most common side effects include flu-like symptoms, fever, muscle or joint pain, and headache.
Nothing strengthens you like an old friendship.
But when it comes to our bones, we both look to Reclast.
You've got to ask your doctor.
Or call 866-51-RECLAST. Year-long protection for on-the-go women.
I bet you've got a few things around the house that aren't working like they should. I'm going to show you how a little CLR can make them work like new again. If your shower dribbles like this, you might think it's a pressure problem. How do you solve it? CLR it. And then let's see. Like I thought, hard water buildup. Now you've got a shower you can get wetted. I'll show you how easily CLR takes the rust off this tub. CLR works like magic, cleaning up all kinds of lime, calcium, and hard water buildup. Let's move on to the kitchen. Coffee pots are the worst culprits for hard water buildup. CLR it. Swish a little through, and it looks like new. CLR's patented formula works fast on lots of appliances like humidifiers and washing machines. Guaranteed or your money back. All of these products are certified in the EPA's Design for the Environment program. Powerful cleaners, environmentally safe. That's CLR.
For cleaning tips and where to find CLR, visit clrbrands.com/TV25.
It's an old farmhouse that sits curiously in a neighborhood of mid-century bungalows. But that was just the first puzzle surrounding a house that hid a harrowing life and death secret tied to the Wild West. When Thomas McWhorter and Marion Bidgood aren't out sporting their Vespa, they're in the living room pining for punk music.
I got to meet the Ramones, Johnny, Dee Dee, Marky, and CJ.
The two also have an eye for antiques.
The sofa was a very interesting find.
Including this Houston house.
Most of the houses are 1920s bungalows, and this one really stuck out as a 19th century structure.
An old lock they discovered dated the home back to before the Civil War. But that fact didn't latch up the story on this place. As the couple pulled out their power tools to fix up the 2,000 square foot house, they revealed the home's hidden past under the entryway's drywall.
We discovered that beneath the sheetrock were these names, but they're written upside down and in black paint.
We have this name, Henkel, which is like a German nickname for Henry. So we were very excited.
Thomas and Marianne grabbed their Vespa and hit the library, where in the city directory, Thomas came up with the original German owner, Joseph Merkel. On the internet, Thomas was lucky enough to find a descendant.
And she gave us some photos, family photos of the Merkels.
Wow.
That's Joseph Merkel and his wife Henrietta. And these are their children.
Were they the culprits behind those names on the wall? It's possible.
There had been one Merkel child named Henry.
Thomas discovered it might have been more than just childish mischief.
It had been traditional in German families. When you got to the end of a room, after you'd done all of the wainscoting work, you would initial it.
But from what the couple learned next,
She also gave us a transcript of kind of the history of the Merkels and their travels.
It was a wonder the Merkels lived to build their house at all. In the 1840s, German families were lured by false ads promising a better life in Texas.
Joseph Merkel's family was one of those families. He came here as a teenager with his father and his other siblings.
But the Merkels arrived to find little food or shelter and a yellow fever epidemic. New roots came at a very high price.
Today, 2 days prior to our departure by wagon, the family Merkel suffered a heavy loss. Their little daughter, Antoine, 6 years old, had not survived the hardship and dies.
The open prairie was a hard place to start from scratch.
You're totally at the mercy of your climate, so anybody back then would have been pretty tough.
Joseph Merkel proved to be pretty tough. He went on to build this house, raise a family, and become a success in the cattle business. He was a prominent citizen who helped make Houston what it is today.
He really went from nothing to kind of a high status.
In a neighborhood with few old houses left, Thomas and Marianne are amazed that this place is still here. It's a survivor, just like its builder, Joseph Merkel. They think he'd like what they've done with this place, except for one thing.
He'd hate my music. Absolutely.
I'm Mike Siegel. See you next time on If Walls Could Talk.
They make over 200 types of cloth feet.
You just happened to pick the one that fit perfectly.
Correct.
That's pretty amazing. What are the odds of that happening, you think?
1 in 200.
1 in 200.